Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how I turned web scraping into a mobile application and the different tools and techniques that I used. So on the page right now I have my app that I created called Get Me Home, and this app scrapes three different websites: Megabus, Flixbus, and Ourbus, which is just three different bus services. And the purpose of the app was to help me find the cheapest bus tickets to go from school to home, but since I had the app up and running I decided to add other cities as well. So it basically just covers the Northeast, and these are some screenshots of what the app looks like. It was on the App Store and it had over 100 downloads. However, I just took it down because I was no longer maintaining it and I didn't want to keep paying the App Store fee. So yeah, but it was fun while it lasted. And in this video I'll go into how I made it. So all the code is publicly available on GitHub. I'll leave a link to this down in the description. And as you can see the backend, which is written in Python and Flask, and the front end, which is written in Swift and SwiftUI. And let's actually dive into the backend now. So the backend is comprised of mainly four files. So if we start with app, this is our main Flask configuration, and there's only one route, which is get trips. And so we have this CORS pre-flight options route, which was for local testing. When the app is actually making requests, it uses this get route, and it basically just checks if I'm getting all buses or one specific bus, and then that just calls these helper functions. If we dive into bus routes.py, this is where those helper functions are defined and being run. And these are actually asynchronous because when I was building it, I had everything synchronous at first. So if I got all three bus services, it was taking 30 seconds. Then I made it asynchronous, and now it's 2 seconds. So huge improvement, and I'll probably make a dedicated video just about asynchronous requests, but that's for a future time. For now, let's just focus on these three services. So I'll come back to Ourbus because that's a little bit different, but Flixbus, as I talked about in the last video, was pretty simple to do. After formatting the date and the link to be correct with the location and date, I essentially just make a request. I get the intermediate stations with another sub request, which I found through, again, just looking through the APIs on the website. And then I get the data, and then I make a new trip object. And if I'm going kind of fast and you want to take a look at it yourself, again, link to this repo in the description, publicly available. Then for Megabus, very similar as well. I create the link, and I create the link to get the API. I have the ticket link so that the user could be directed directly to the page to buy the ticket that they're looking at. And then again, we just parse the data and create a new trip object. And the trip object, it has intermediate stations, ticket link, the date. I have a random number, which is basically just the ID, because I forget why I needed this, but I think it was for the front end to handle sorting for some reason. Arrival location, departure time, departure location, and the coordinates. And I also needed this for the front end to handle the map, which is really cool. A nice little feature. The reason I skipped Ourbus and I'm coming back to it now is because this was a little bit different. So Megabus and Flixbus, they directly send JSON responses, which are really nice to work with because those are dedicated APIs. Ourbus doesn't expose their API. Instead, what they do is they return HTML, which contains all the data. So what I had to do was I filter for this variable default search, and this is just a giant string in the HTML which contains all the data. I then parse that piece of HTML, create a JSON object out of it, and then with that JSON object, which is what I'm doing here, trip data, JSON that loads, I make a JSON object out of that. And with that JSON object, I then am able to parse it and create my trip information. Another cool aspect of Ourbus is if I'm searching between New York and Ithaca and there's no trips for a specific date, Ourbus automatically looks at other trips that are somewhat close to the locations I'm interested in. So if there's no New York to Ithaca, it would check New Jersey to Ithaca, for example, which is really nice. So I also account for that here. And I can show you what this looks like. So if I go to Brave and then I go to ourbus.com, and let's open up the Chrome Developer Tools, clear this, network. If we go from Ithaca to New York on May 1st and we search, Then we're going to filter. Nope. Let's go here. We're going to filter. We're going to do downtown Ithaca. And we're going to look for this. What's happening is this is the variable default search that we saw in the code, and it's essentially this entire string, as you can see, like super long, and I just format that in the code and make it into this. And yeah, that was a bit tricky to figure out, but I just used Beautiful Soup to handle parsing that information, and then we create the trip object here. And for the trip object, I used JSON pickle, I believe it's called. Let's see. Oh, wait, I think I used that at the bottom. So this is just a normal class, and then I used that at the bottom. So for get all, I asynchronously call each of those three functions, and each function has a variable, which is basically just saying, or a parameter saying all are true. All are single, and if this is true, it returns the data just as a list, and then it has nothing else with it. But if it's false, it formats the response in a slightly different way that's just for that specific route. And then each of these APIs has their own discount, like discounts and responses. This is mainly for our bus. And then yeah, I return everything here. So this was a really fun project to do. I learned a lot, and I also hosted it on Render, which is something I learned, and I can also make another video about that. Render is essentially a service that provides hosting, very simple hosting at a cost. Well, they have a free plan and plans that cost money, and I used the free plan for a while. Then once I deployed the app, I used the paid plans, but now it's back to free, as you can see, and it has really good insights and metrics and logs, and it's really cool. So if you're making a Flask backend, I definitely recommend Render. It's definitely easier than using like a VPS, but I'll probably transition to using a VPS for now. But yeah, if you're interested in learning more, you can check out the code on my GitHub. If you have questions, leave them down below. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, have a good one.